Alright, today I want to talk about the Hood, not his gameplay or anything. I could show you that if you wanted to, but I don't think I have anything that's new, unique, or interesting to say about him, so I want to talk about his story, right? Specifically, they changed it. And now he's one of my favorite comic villains, and one of, not my favorite, but he's one of them, purely for the fact that he is just an evil shithead. There's not much depth to him besides the fact that he's evil, and he does evil things. He recognizes that he's evil, and sure, in his own twisted way, everything he does is for his family. But the family that he got his girlfriend pregnant and then cheated on her with a hooker, and then after they had a child, cheated on her with one of his gang members. So, like, he's an evil shithead, right? That's the whole shtick. And in this new version, I used to have it right here. I had it right here for purposes for this, but people are sleeping in my house, so I'm not going to go grab it, wake people up. But in the new version of his origin, he's like told to dream big by Captain America, and then because he's dreaming big, he steals something from the Kingpin. His dad can't suffer his child going to jail, so he goes to jail for him because Kingpin runs the city, and this is in the Marvel universe, right? This is in the Rivals universe where we just had the Midtown map, Lower Manhattan, I can't remember which one. The one with Kingpin, you get to take the convoy where he was locking all the vigilantes up, right? That's very important. It happens in that universe, in that timeline, at the same time. Now, that's really important because... So his dad goes to jail because Kingpin runs the entire city. He's mayor, he runs everything. He loses all his scholarships. He can't do anything, and so he just works base-level jobs. And starts doing a petty thievery. And petty thievery, because he's poor, is typically where the character starts. And at this point in the story, I'm like going, oh, okay, because it's an origin story for him, the most recent Rivals comic that came to print. And I'm reading the story, and I'm going, oh, this is cool. It's a great way of putting his original origin story into the game. He's told to dream big, he can't dream big, now he's a petty thief. Petty thief is exactly what he was in the comics before he got the Hood. And so I'm waiting for him to get the Hood, but instead he just gets, like, he tries to take on the Kingpin with a gun and gets his ass beat because he doesn't just shoot him. He monologues for a little bit, and then he goes to jail, and then he meets Captain America in jail, and then he fights Captain America. They just get beat up, and then Captain America keeps trying to dissuade him. Hey, I know I have a lot of power. I know you're mad that I have power and you don't, but power isn't everything. I think people having my power is bad, and I try to keep the power that's in my hands. I try to do the right thing with it, blah, blah, blah. He's like, I just want power. I just want power to change the world, to make sure that this stuff doesn't happen anymore. And, like, he's evil, but, like, oh, I want to change the system. I want to be the next Kingpin. I want to change my world kind of evil. Which is exactly what he's in the comics. He wants to be a sort of kingpin of crime. I have the Illuminati comics from 2015. It's where he tries to create the new Illuminati, and he bargains with dark magic. All falls down on him, but it's a pretty cool story. I recommend you read it. It follows more of Titania than it does Parker Robbins, but he is kind of the head honcho of their group. So, anyways, that's kind of what he is in the comics. I'm like, okay, so this is cool. It's weird, but it's cool. When does he get the Hood? When does he get the Hood and the magic shoes? Well, he doesn't until there's a prison break and he falls, and then, well, I don't know where the vault is. My only idea is that maybe the vault is somewhere in the prison, and when he fell through the floor, he just happened to land next to the vault, and the vault was opening because the whole prison's coming apart, blah, 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 stuff like that. But he walks into this vault opened by Kingpin, and he finds the Hood. And then he puts it on, and he becomes the Hood. My problem with this, like, it's cool if it's the story, great. My problem with this is that the power in the Hood, like in the Hood itself, comes from Oblivion, and therefore changes his entire power set. The only thing that stays about his power set is the magic guns. Magic guns that do damage, but he doesn't really ever turn his hands into guns in the comics. His demon form in the comics is never a giant gun, and I think he looks sick. I think he is sick. I think he is really cool. Gameplay-wise and in the game, I think it's great. But I can't sit here and say that I wasn't disappointed, because I was really hoping or the Hood from the comics with the Dormammu stuff, and because the stories that are in this game is great. Like Doctor Strange. If you didn't know, Doctor Strange is actually in the mirror dimension, and whenever he shows up in battle, he's astral projecting him. He's like projecting himself into the reality where the fight is happening so he can fight alongside you. He's technically not there. He's still trapped in the mirror dimension. At least last time I read his stories, maybe there's more. But that's cool. That's really cool. The stories in this game are really cool in the way they take their characters. But this is the first time, at least to my knowledge, that they fundamentally changed a character for the game. And I don't know how I feel about it. Outside of him being really cool, his powers are completely different. Like, the Fade. The Fade is probably the only thing that's kind of the same if you watch the animation. It's his shift and his basic bindings. If you look at his animation, he is kind of walking, and so you can go, oh, that's the magic boots and the ability to go invisible. But he's not really invisible, he's just intangible, and maybe he's just not invisible for gameplay purposes. But the only real powers that the cloak itself gives him at first, the cloak allows him to go invisible, and the shoes allow him to walk on air. And those are the only real powers it gives him at first. And after that, they essentially, they keep adapting it, and they give it more powers. Like in the Illuminati comic that I referenced, there's this new spell he was trying, and it was the Door of Dormammu, because it's Dormammu's, and it's a big teleport. And I go, oh, they took inspiration from that with the Wanda team-up. Why does it need the Wanda team-up? Just do that. But also, Door of Dormammu would be really cool in this game, because as a tank, you can control space. Not only does it teleport himself, but it teleports the people around him. They're in a bar fight, right? They're in this crazy bar fight. And I think I mentioned this last time I talked about the Hood and, like, who he is. But they say, hey, just teleport us out of here. And he goes, what good would that do? Everybody here would teleport with us. And that would be a really cool ability in the game, but they can't really do that. Well, they can't do that because the character's already out. But with this direction on the character, let's say they're designing it and they're going, it's Oblivion. They can't really do that because it's Oblivion. It's not Dormammu. And I can't say that I'm not disappointed. I think he's amazing. He's by far my favorite tank this season. They butchered Penny, and everyone else just feels kind of stale. Rogue and Hood are by far my favorite tanks to play this season. I think everything he does is cool. I think everything he does is unique. I think he has this great place in the game, but I cannot say that I'm not disappointed because I really wanted the character I liked from the comics, and they kind of really changed him. I have a paperback around here. Maybe I'll show it off and show off comic panels at one point of his original saga. It's Parker Robbins. No, the Hood, the Saga of Parker Robbins, something like that. Trade paperback, get it. There's a lot of copies on eBay that I've been seeing because I've been talking about it more often, and Google shows you ads of things that you talk about. And if you look at it, he's kind of completely different. Like, it's weird to me because I think it's a bad direction, because I think it's good for this character. For this character that is very niche, obscure. I guarantee you, most of the people who play this game had no idea who this character was when he came out, or when he was announced, right? I guarantee you that. But, let's say there's someone who's not as niche, but they are still niche, and then they also change that character. I think it's good for him because nobody knew who he was, and they made him really cool, and he's able to fit into the game really well. But I can't help but think that they could have made him fit into the game just as well using the original origin story and his original powers. Because if they keep changing character stories for this game, and not just adapting them in new ways, but fundamentally changing. They're changing his origin, and they're changing his powers. Like, objectively, they changed the character. He is kind of a different character in Rivals than he is in the comics. And the MCU did the same thing. I don't like him in the MCU because the cloak is from Mephisto. And when you make the cloak from Mephisto, you change most of his powers. And when you change most of his powers, they also changed kind of his back. They didn't really change his backstory. His backstory and his motivation are different, but it's not as drastically different. I think it's more drastic. It's been a while since I watched Ironheart. Not too memorable. But I didn't like him there either because they really changed him, and I can't help but think that they're going to change more characters, and that is disappointing to me because I like these characters. The reason why I like this game is because I like these characters, and I feel like even if you are just an MCU stan who has only watched the MCU, that is the reason why this game got popular. That's the reason why you picked up the game in the first place for most people, unless you were an Overwatch stan and then you came over to this game because you didn't like Overwatch at the time and you like this game now. Most of the people, my guess would be about 70 to 80% of people who play this game or play this game at all, even if it's only once a week, play it because they like these characters in some sort of format. So it's disappointing to me to see them change the character in this way, I guess. Because it's, who's the next character they're going to change? And how big of a character are they going to be? Because it doesn't leave that big of an impact with the Hood. I've seen a lot of people saying, "Oh," and they're LARPing, obviously, because they're like, "Oh, Chainsaw Man didn't inspire this new this Hood Ultimate. It didn't inspire it at all." And E-Man Media, I love that guy. He hates Squirrel Girl more than I do, but he was like, "Hey, if you read the comics in 2002, none of the shit he does in this game is in this comic." And he's like, "Correct, especially that gun form, that demon gun form, doesn't appear anywhere." I can't get over the fact that the character I like is not in the game. Like, he's in the game in spirit, but it's not the same guy. If you changed his name and made it an amulet or a belt that gave him the powers instead of the hood, and he just wore the hood for cosmetic effect, you could realistically say that it's a different character. I mean, people would call it a clone, because they are very similar in a lot of ways. But you could say that, and I personally don't like that. Let me know what you guys think about it, obviously, and peace out.